Okay, welcome to video number 2 in the series here of our holster making. And what you're going to see here is just about right where we left off. I added 2 more sketches in here because I was just trying to verify and see if I couldn't bring this down just a touch a little bit, but it actually didn't. It was less than 0.1 degree difference along the top edge of the gun. Excuse me. And I think I'm just going to leave that. I don't think we're going to muck with that anymore. It's very, very close. I mean, in the scheme of things, it's probably just a few thousandths off anyways, or a difference there, so we're going to leave that. What I did want to go over is explaining sometimes when, okay, so scanners are really, really, really nice. You can put an object in and you can scan it in 360 degrees and you can get a very usable object out of it. But sometimes as it's scanning, there's a little bit of, whether it's in the optics of the scanner or if it's the way that it computes things, sometimes you can get a slight misalignment in edges and they're not either perfectly vertical or square or whatever. So don't expect that your scan is going to be exactly perfect to the model. It's going to be close, and by close, most of my dimensions, when we start measuring this and verifying our dimensions, you'll see we're probably going to be within 2 to 5 thousandths from the actual model in size. So, you know, it's pretty good. But what I did want to point out was if we zoom in here, I just did this really quick to take a look. If we zoom in here, you'll see I grabbed and created one of our triangles again. And I'll move this edge out here and we'll do it again. So I just created one of our triangles again, and I put it along this vertical face here, or what looks vertical. As you notice, as you come up here, it deviates slightly up here at the top. It rounds over just a little bit and then it comes back out, but it is technically a flat face there. So if we zoom in and we bring our angle in along this face here, you can see there's some deviations along the edge, and it looks like it kind of comes in there a little bit, probably because it's being thrown off by this angle here, which goes down the gun. It's a tapered angle, so not only is it giving it a taper at the top there, it's tapered from front to back. The taper from here, right here in the front, is much larger than the chamfer or the taper back here. And it's very, very stylistic. It's really nice. But we're not worried about that right now. Really, all we're concerned about is the side, the flat edge of the slide. So now if you see there, it looks like we're slightly off. We could probably move it a little bit to the right, you know, maybe 1/10 of a degree. Let's get a dimension on that. We'll put it on here. Oh, that was wrong. Let's delete that. I double clicked it for some reason. So we'll go from this line to this line here. We click up. It says it's 0.3 degrees out difference there. That's actually fairly significant in this. I mean, but as you'll see, the other side is, if we do the same thing, we have a point along that edge, and it's almost about the same height as the other side here is. That's almost at the, you know, straight across here. You can see it's out about the same in the opposite side, opposite direction. So if we hit D for dimension, there we go. Yeah, this one says it's 0.5 degrees in the opposite direction. So at that point, sometimes you just want to verify that your error is about the same side to side. And again, I've gone through and I've checked. I've even created geometry along the edge here of the trigger guard to see if that's straight up and down, and it's as straight as it can be. Flipping over here to going to the right view, I've snapped a couple lines here along the top and along the bottom edge here to verify that those are flat. Everything seems to be good and flat. So at this point, we're going to call this as flat, as good as we're going to get. So we're going to finish up our sketch here. We're going to come over here, and since we're still not capturing anything in our history, well, actually, before we do that, let's do this. We're going to create an offset plane of 0. We're just going to say 0 here, and we're going to grab that plane and stretch it out. You'll see why we're doing this in a second. It's easier to see once we do that. So we're going to grab that. Then we're going to select our plane we just created, right click on it and say repeat plane offset. Go to our right view, and we're going to drag this out just past the muzzle of the gun, just past the front edge of that gun. And what we're trying to do is get a little bit of this circle here in the front, this circle, the barrel. We're trying to get that to be within our plane, so that what we're going to do here is we're going to bisect this angle, and bisect this geometry here, and it's going to give us right where the barrel is, and then we'll create geometry. And rather than try to explain it and confuse you, I'm just going to show you. So we're going to say that's okay for right now. We're going to turn off the first construction plane, so we're not using that. And then we're going to come up here to our mesh tools. This tool is fantastic for what we need to do in the future here for the rest of our geometry. We're going to go up to our Create Mesh Section Sketch. We're going to left click on that, and it's going to ask us the body that we want to create it off of. We're going to select our gun, and then we're going to select the plane, which is the one we just created. And what you'll see is, once we say OK, and let's turn off our gun so we can't see it, or turn off our scan geometry here. What you'll see is we were able to get a good portion of that barrel in there. And by turning off the plane, it allows us to kind of see it a little bit better there. But we can see we've got nice, crisp lines. We've got good geometry to start building our geometry, our gun geometry off of. This is going to work really, really well for us. But we can't select any of these lines. So while it's been created for us based on those points, and what this is just to kind of explain what happens. We turn our plane back on. We have our scan data, and if we zoom in here, although on the screen right now it looks like these are all points that are joined together. There's no surfaces in between these points. It's just how Autodesk or how Fusion is interpolating how that object should look. There's really these, if you just think of it, this would necessarily be, or not necessarily, this would really be a point cloud. This is just giving us a visual representation, and it's a very nice representation of our scan. But you have to think of these as individual points. Now what our plane is doing is it's bisecting those points. And anywhere the plane bisects, Fusion is creating a line between those bisected areas. So this is basically, even though it looks like our sketch here, and we'll flip back around here, even though this looks like it's geometry, it's a bunch of individual points, all created to make it, make it look like a line or an arc or whatever it is. But we can't directly manipulate that. We can, however, go in. What you'll see is when you do that, you'll see a mesh section sketch, and then it's attached to a sketch. So that sketch is empty. It's technically empty. Even though you select on it, it selects the mesh section sketch. That's just because mesh selection is a part of that, or is a child of that. We're going to go back over here to our solid, and we're going to right-click on our sketch. In this case, it's the sketch 9 that the mesh is attached to. We're going to say Edit Sketch. Now, we can do whatever we want to. We can select lines, arcs, all that stuff like here, and try to fill out geometry. But the easiest way to start working with this is to come up here to your Create menu. And right here, in between, this option isn't available at any time unless you have a mesh section sketch here. So we're going to select Fit Curves to Mesh Section. This tool is so fantastic. Being able to come in here and just snap points and do, what it does is it takes all of these points here that we've created, like right now, say I want to create a vertical line. And I'm going to start here where I know the slide is straight. I'm going to select one of these points here before it gets to the arc, maybe right above it, make sure we're clear. And I'm just going to follow this all the way up until it starts moving off and I start seeing that, see how that line starts deviating off of the straight line? Well, then I'll bring it down here while it's still there and within a margin of error, and I'm going to click my second point. Now it's created a line there. Now, to continue on, I could come up here and I could say I'm going to go for an arc from that point there up to the next point where it starts getting straight again. And then I'm going to snap that, and I go back to my line, and I can repeat that over and over again until I can build my geometry the way that I want to. So that's just as an example. I'm not going to go much farther than this right here on that. But what I want to do is we're going to repeat fit curves and mesh just to get out of that. I escaped out of it, and then we're going to repeat it. But what I want to do is I want to go right here to where it does the circle. It's going to create a circle from the geometry that we have. And all we have to do is start hovering over these different areas, and we're going to start seeing where the circles interlap or overlap. And we're going to, it looks like it's creating two different circles. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, we might as well create them both. We're going to select that guy there, and we're going to select that guy there, and we're going to say OK. And now it's given us a circle here. And actually what we should do, let's do another one of these here. Repeat fit curves, leave it on circle, and let's see what it gets us here for this top arc. It's pretty much the same. And the same there. So we're not deviating too far off of there. We're going to hit cancel. But what it does give us is it gives us these center points here. And just by clicking, we'll do a line in between these center points, hit escape. And we're going to assume that this is our center portion of where we want to be on our gun. This is where the barrel is going to be. It doesn't really matter if it's the exact, it's just close enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to hit escape. On my shortcuts menu, S for shortcuts, I have added some of the tools that I like to use for building holsters and doing that. This is the main thing that I'm doing now. So I have a 3-point arc, I have a center point arc, I have a point, and I've added in the center point slot. I believe these ones here are all defaults. If not, you can. It's easy enough to add one. Like say I wanted to add in a slot. You could type in SL and it gives you several different options, and then all you have to do is click this up arrow and it adds it to your list of shortcuts. I don't want to do that. I want to grab a point right now, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select the center point of that line. And what I'm assuming is the center point of that line is the center point between the difference of these two circles, which would give us the barrel center. Again, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to use the barrel center for anything off of the geometry. It just gives me a nice place to locate where I'm going to position the gun on the XY axis. So I'm going to say finish sketch. I'm going to turn back my body on, and I would come over here at an angle. And now I want to move it. I want to move from that point that I just created. I want that point with the guns, with the scan, to be right here on my origin 0. It just makes things easier for me to create it. Or that's the way my mind works. I like to have that where everything is kind of split right down the middle, easy to go from, and that I have a very well-defined working plane or start point to work from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit M to move. We're going to select the body that we want to move. And we're only worried about the body at this point. So we're going to select the body. We don't care about the sketches because we're actually going to delete all those. And we're going to say move from point to point. So we're going to click that guy here, and we're going to come up to that point we just created, that center point. And we're going to left click on that point, and we're going to come down to our origin and left click on the origin. As soon as we left click on the origin, the body's going to, or the scan is going to move to that point. And you can see it's going to leave the sketches and stuff like here. Don't worry about any of that because we're not going to use any of that stuff right now. We're going to say OK. And now we're all done moving things. So we can turn off the origin. We can come over here and we can delete all of these planes and we can delete all the sketches. So start with the planes, delete those because we're not going to use those anymore. We're going to come up here, we're going to shift select all of these sketches and delete those. Now we're left with just the gun on the origin. We're approximately where the center of the barrel would be. And now we can rotate around that. Everything is right based off of that origin point. We're able to know we have a well-defined location of where things are going to be for creating future geometry. And now our gun is ready to go, or now our scan is ready to go. And so from here, before we save this, I'm going to come up here where the name of our project is. We're going to right click on it, and we're going to turn on Capture Design History, because from this point we want to be able to track back all of our data. Everything here is aligned, and typically what I'll do is after I do this, once I've aligned the data and I've brought it in, just in case for future reference, like here's the, just in case, like I like to sometimes have multiple models. But for right now, sometimes I would go in and I name this aligned and I put it in a database. We're not going to do that actually because it might be a little confusing later. So never mind what I just said. But at this point, we're just going to hit save. It's going to ask us why we save because I have version description on there. And we're going to say final align of scan and place at origin. And click OK. And it's going to think for a second because it's got a lot of data points it's got to save. And now we're good to go. We're going to close out our data panel here, so we're good to go. And our next video, we'll start creating geometry.